exactly that time, because relationships, intimate relationships, kids take time, and that's one thing that busy business owners are the most short of. So, and even with the time that they have, how present are they in those times? Relationship, it's about bringing the power back into the leader's hand, into the parent's hand, and that power comes from the power of knowing oneself. And some of the best ways to know oneself is through the relationships we have with others, and more importantly, our intimate relationships.
Hi everyone, I'm Mina from Pinnacle Accounting and Advisory, and this is the Busy Health YouTube channel. And today we've got Yolanda Alvares with us. How are you, Yolanda?
Hey, hi Mina. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Yolanda, you are from Empowered Relationships, correct?
That's right.
Can you tell us a little bit about Empowered Relationships and what you do?
Yeah, so I work as a relationship coach and mentor, and I support busy professionals to bring some insights into their family life, into their parenting journey, and into their intimate relationships, because the way we do one thing is the way we do all things. So bringing some fresh perspectives. I often hear busy professionals working really hard and putting in all this time to for their families to create successful businesses, and forget or have missed the focus on the essence of what building a relationship with intimate ones are about. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's something that I find sometimes business owners go into the business activity with the purpose of achieving their purpose, right? They've started it because they were clear on their why. They wanted to help family, they wanted to look after family, but then they start, and before they know it, it's a few years in, and they hardly have time for family, be it their partners or actually their kids. So it's an absolute pleasure again to have you on and talk about this very, very important topic. So let's delve deeper, shall we?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
Fantastic. So what struggles do you find sometimes business owners go through in terms of not being able to have time for intimate relationships and their family?
Exactly that time. Because relationships, intimate relationships, kids take time. And that's one thing that busy business owners are the most short of. So, and even with the time that they have, how present are they in those times is what your family, especially kids, can really feel. What I find is that busy professionals will tell me that, oh, I'm putting my child, I have that time putting my child to sleep, and they just won't sleep, Yolanda, and I've got all these things to go back to, and these clients to get back to, and emails to do, and I get very frustrated, and I find myself getting angry that my child isn't going to bed. So this is just an example. And what happens in turn, is that the child starts to get even more difficult to put to bed, and the child's behavior. And what I support business owners to see is that where are they? Are they energetically present there? And our kids, especially our young kids, can feel our energy of frustration, can feel us not wanting to be there, which is why they become more and more needing and more demanding. So if we are able to, when we're able to see that, we find that we can allocate shorter time, but more present time will often allow a child to feel more energetically calmer and not be so demanding. So it's a little trick, but works beautifully. So presence.
Yeah, because sometimes the kids can almost pick up on the parents' energy too, right?
Always. Always do. Yeah. I mean, we can do this too. If someone enters the room, they might say, how are you? And they'll be like, oh, I'm fine. But you can energetically feel there's something not quite off. And as humans, we haven't given that enough attention, enough of our attention to really tune into that. So becoming more intuitive is what I suppose, what I support and guide the business owners that I work with as well.
Beautiful. I love that example they used. When someone comes into the room, even as adults, we can pick it up. So kids are very attuned
Much
to,
more tune.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
perfect. So what do you find business owners struggle with in terms of their personalities, some things that actually hold them back to continue to grow and to have good relationships with others? I mean, some of the things that we touched upon in a previous conversation is subconscious language that we speak to ourselves, right? Some of it might be cultural, so nurture versus nature, right? And things like that. Can you delve into the various things that could hold people back in terms of, again, building those strong relationships, those intimate relationships that ultimately really sort of affect all our relationships at a subconscious level,
Absolutely.
whether working with employees, customers, our suppliers, it to a level, it does impact all our relationships.
It absolutely does. And that's why my business is called Empowered Relationship. It's about bringing the power back into the leader's hand, into the parent's hand. And that power comes from the power of knowing oneself. And some of the best ways to know oneself is through the relationships we have with others, and more importantly, our intimate relationships. The reason why they are so challenging and why they are so hard is because it is very confronting into our own shadows and parts of ourselves that we avoid seeing or we don't see. And the people around us or even our workmates won't bring that up because they probably just need to be on the good side of you. Whereas your intimate partner and your kids will challenge you because they are the closest to you. So these are gifts. So when I have someone come to me and say they have challenged me, I will say, what's the gift in it? And the gift is always our own personal empowerment, because through those triggers, we get to understand, or in a session with them, I'm able to unpack patterns that they hold subconsciously, limiting beliefs that have come through generationally and even culturally, as well as patterns, beliefs, and even languaging that they use, and the inner language and unmet needs of the child version of themselves. So, for example, in terms of not feeling respected enough, it's not uncommon that as I unpack that story, I will find that number one, it's not just the colleague that isn't respecting them or their staff isn't respecting them, but I often unpack to see that there's other areas in their lives where this has been a common trait. And then I bring it back to them to see if this is what's playing out. Could it be that we can dive deeper to see where this has come, where you are the common denominator, where you feel disrespected. And we find that we can unpack this to bring it to often cultural expectations, relationship with a prominent caregiver, could be a dad or a mom, and the child's was either there was unfair respect demanded of the child, or the child themselves didn't feel like or felt like their boundaries were crossed more often than not. And addressing these and recognizing the story that the child held and the emotion that they held at the time is often what we carry into our adulthood, which is not something that is seen in the outside world. So working with me allows you to become aware of these subconscious patterns that are so important on our journey to create healthy, long-lasting, loving, respectful relationships.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, how would you work with someone? And just taking a step back too, what are some of the things that ladies might be feeling? So, if a lady comes to you and says, I don't feel loved, or I don't feel respected, be it they feel that from their partner or from people at work, what could be going on again for her in the background at a subconscious level, or even maybe not at a subconscious level, that would be impacting and making her feel that way?
So, good question there, Mina. Women are nurturers and givers. And culturally, or even many women were taught right from little girls to put everyone else's needs first. And their mothers did the same. Their mothers modeled that behavior of looking after everyone else and putting themselves last. And naturally, that balance gets thrown off because they give so much, and it comes from a space of wanting to be loved, or wanting to have their needs met. And that balance can never be matched if she's giving from a place of lack. I remember that in my own childhood, I came to a point where on my journey, where I realized that I was giving so much because I needed so much, and at the same time, no amount of love that I would receive would ever fill the gap, or the hole inside of me, because it was so deep, going into childhood stories of not having that need for love being met by the caregivers. So addressing those past stories is so important on the journey, and I don't think today there's enough of awareness around it. So to answer your question about women needing love, it comes from a generational and societal patterns, and women today are there's more awareness, there's more collective awareness, and there's a need, of course, especially living in a country like Australia, where we look at equality, and everywhere. I think it's becoming much more that women are asking for the same amount of respect and significance and importance, because they put in as much, if not more, into a relationship or into workplaces. So that old patterning has come to a point where women have been raised with the sense of lack, and they themselves haven't come to terms with addressing where they've come from and what they're asking for. So, no matter how much you give them, it could very much be that it won't be enough if they haven't addressed core issues in their own upbringing.
And what would that be like? Like, what could some of the issues be? Is it sort of not receiving hugs or attention, maybe from dad? This is both going to the male and the female, by the way, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the male not receiving enough hugs or praise from mum or something, and what dynamics, family dynamics, could be contributing to these, I guess, types of behaviors that we see in adulthood?
So that's another interesting question there. You'll see that that there is no one way. It is each child's or each individual's personality trait. It's their core needs need to be taken into account, and you'll find that there might be, say, 2 or 3 siblings, and they've all been raised in the same environment, whereas one sibling might be perfectly fine and very independent and be able to be very balanced emotionally, whereas another sibling can seem to have had greater needs, feels a lot more unstable, didn't feel like their needs were met, didn't feel loved enough, while they were raised by the same two parents. So there is the aspect of the story that this child has subscribed to. So there's a version of the story of how they felt given um, genetic makeup, their emotional wiring, their need, the need for love, the need to be cared for, the need to be nurtured, the need for hugs, the need for physical touch, and we can touch back to the love languages as we spoke about in before. So based on all of those factors ties into where that need's not being met.
Yep. And what are
A
the
child
five
who
love
needed,
languages? Yeah. What are the five love?
yeah,
I'll give that over to you.
yeah. So for example, a child might have the need to be hugged. So it could be that's the
Physical
physical touch,
touch.
the need for physical touch. Could be the child needed to be cared for. Maybe it's acts of service that are important to that child. Maybe it's gift giving. So it's yeah. So there's five of them. They all not receiving gifts, physical touch, words of affirmation. Yeah. So being praised enough and quality time, very important as well. So yeah, those five. So depending on on what's higher in each child's need, one child can feel like their needs were not met and step into adulthood and be triggered and have sense of a lack of not enough being loved, not enough being hugged, not enough being validated, not enough being felt like heard, or even need for significance. All of that plays out. So it's so important to touch all of this, and the best hint we can get or the clue is in the relationships around us. What are they saying to us? And recognize it's really not about the other person. It is first about me and then the other person.
Can you delve deeper into the concept of it's actually about me, not the other person?
Yeah.
And how empowering ourselves can empower other people.
Yeah.
And then I want to go back briefly to the five love languages too. But
Okay.
over to you in terms of like empowering ourselves and then empowering other people.
Yeah. So I always say with the clients I work with, especially in the dating space, I'll challenge them to say to recognize that there's only one person in that relationship that they have any power or control over, and that's themselves. Yeah. So, so if the person, say across the table, is showing them like they are not committed enough, or they are, or it looks like they are not present enough, or or they're showing traits of. Give me an example. What you find might be showing up for you, Mina. That would be a good way to dive into this.
Yeah, I speak to a lot of people, and based on previous relationships, you can find the person might not be attentive. They might not want to do similar things that you want to do. Their purpose might not be the same. Values might not be aligned. They might have different love languages that you may or may not have picked up on. And understanding culture, I think sometimes culture can have a huge impact and where they've come from, what their family's like, right? If you understand these things and you understand who you are, who your family is, what your culture is, how you've been brought up, then you can start to understand how you approach things, and you can be attuned to how the other person approaches things, and you can, I find, approach it as, okay, well, how do we meet in the middle, or how do we navigate this particular matter rather than, oh, you're just doing something to, say, annoy me, or because you don't love me, or that type of thing. And I feel that's the same way in working relationships too.
So when we get annoyed, so I'll use what you said there in terms of annoyed. Would that be you feeling annoyed?
That would be, yes, I guess I could feel annoyed. I
You
could
can
feel
feel annoyed at the
frustrated.
way
I could
they
feel misunderstood. There's a whole
misunderstood.
range of human emotions
Yeah,
that one can potentially feel. You
that
can
play
feel
out in intimate relationships. Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, it's not just intimate relations. It flows through other relationships, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that level of awareness is very, very important, which you can again delve deeper into, and how we empower ourselves so that we can empower other people, right? And what you mean by, it's as if you're the only person in that relationships in terms of navigating the
Yes.
various struggles, and the struggles will come because you can't not struggle in a relationship. If you don't struggle in a relationship, then you're pretty much like dating yourself. And even with ourselves, we have our own internal dialogue, which we struggle with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's either you don't care enough about the relationships to raise matters, or you just, I don't know, you're not a human that actually feels anything.
I would say it this way: if a person didn't have any challenges in relationship, they would possibly be highly evolved, that they have managed their own triggers, that they have addressed their own
talk to
past
me about
trauma, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Talk to me about it, please, because for me, I sort of see as conflict is very, very much necessary, but it's not conflict itself. It's the way you deal with conflict. It's having an understanding that conflict is beneficial, and it's any two people or even a group of people with different backgrounds, different cultures, different perceptions to a degree, coming in together and wanting potentially different things, but sometimes the same thing, right? That's just the way that I've been taught to deal with conflict, and also approach conflict from a healthy perspective rather than from a negative perspective.
Yes, absolutely. So my so the empowered perspective would be to check in to see where can I take the power back. And often where we can take the power back is in understanding what are my patterns, and where am I the common denominator. So the need for respect, like you said there before, or even the need to be, or you find yourself getting annoyed or frustrated with certain patterns, or feeling misunderstood, for example. I like to bring curiosity into that. And I would say that, all right, so each person has got so many phases, or so many faces, and so many aspects of a person. Yeah, one person, but we have so many ways and so many things that we are projecting at any given time. Would that be fair to say? So if there were 3 people in the room and I showed up, each of the 3 people would have a different view of me. Would that be fair to say, Mina?
Absolutely. And you remind me of 2 things straight away at the moment. One of them is a book called Man's Search for Meaning.
Yeah, Victor.
I think it's Viktor Frankl.
Yes, correct.
I might be getting the name right. And that was through the Jewish Holocaust. And a very important nugget, a key from that book is, although something is happening, I still can determine how I respond to that.
That's correct.
Even in situations that are as intense as a Holocaust and the things that they went through.
The torture he was being put through, yes.
Correct. That's one of them. Another one is, I had another video, produced some content with someone called Mark, who's a specialist negotiator. And he said, Mina, when you enter negotiations, one thing he likes to do is always get curious. which is the word that you used, right? Which is seeking to understand first before you become
Yeah.
understood. So,
Very much part of
over to
the
you.
personal empowerment journey is being curious. What else is playing out here that I'm not aware? Where are my glasses so fixed? So the best thing we can do is give ourselves an expanded insight into what else is at play here, and where am I playing in a role in this part? Where are my patterns showing up? What are some of my own past experiences that are that's bringing up emotional charge within me? So I am a trained emotions coach, so I work with emotions in the body, and I'll often be able to trace back emotions that show up in those moments of feeling misunderstood, in those moments of feeling annoyed and frustrated, and work with the emotion that shows up in the body, because that's where your power lies. And a lot of that emotions are not just showing up now. They've been with you all along, right from childhood memories. And with the work that I do covers a lot of inner child work, where I look at when those emotions were initially trapped and how they are asking to be set free. The annoyance, the frustration is the emotions within that little child that are asking to make sense of. And that's what I do to make sense of. And I often find that when we bring it back then to that scenario, and I get them to revisit that instant after we worked with the emotion, you find that you will have a completely different perspective of what's at play. Because we are so limited by our emotional experience in intimate relationships and personal relationship situations, that we're not even aware of these limitations, and we can push past them by addressing and becoming aware of where else our power lies.
Beautiful. So, just very briefly, how could we pick up that our triggers are being activated, and how can we address those? Not to delve too deep, but just a few points that the viewers can benefit from, and really get a better understanding of how you can help them, Yolanda, also.
Yeah, so coming back to answer that question is coming back to the origin of our existence. That is, we come into the world with breath. We leave the world with the last breath. And that's where the answer lies, connection to breath. When we are in tune with our breath, we are present, and we can feel into the body. And when we've tuned ourselves to do that, so it's like running a marathon. You don't just say, I'm going to run a marathon today, I put my shoes on and I run. We train for a marathon. So similarly, to have successful relationships, there is a training, the muscle that is built to be a person that has the best relationship with themselves. And that often comes back to having moments of connecting to our breath, being present in our body, connecting with our breath, and feeling into our body, being in tune with our body. And once we've done that, and that muscle has strengthened, when we are in relationships, we can feel, as we are triggered, where the emotion sits in the body. You will be able to pick into the intensity of the tightness or the resistance in the chest. It could be in the tummy, it could be in the head, it could be on your shoulders. And a lot of that, as we go through that, we start to realize what emotion is attached. So just to give you an example, often a tightness in the chest area could be sadness, disappointment. If it's in the tummy, it would be related to fear. If it's the back or lower back, even the shoulders, it could be not feeling supported. Yeah, and yeah, there's a whole range of different um, um, ways it can manifest in the body. And all of this ties back to if a person has lived like this for a longer period of time, you will find that a lot of diseases that they acquire over time are linked to these emotions that have not been addressed. And the tightness, say, around the chest, it's on a cellular level. The cells are constricted, and when they're constricted for a long period of time, there's not enough blood flow. So all of this work that I do around emotions, it's great that it comes up when people want to create amazing relationships, but has the benefit that you get to live happier, healthier, freer, lighter lives as well.
It can also increase cortisol, right? So you're definitely right. So at a molecular,
Absolutely.
cellular level, yep.
Yes.
And obviously that it continues to increase stress and all the negative ramifications that
Absolutely.
happen from prolonged periods of stress. I love that. Thank you very much. And I can see what you're talking about. You know, the different pains really explain different emotions that we're feeling. So if we can understand where it's coming from, what part of the body is triggered, we can start saying, okay, why am I feeling ashamed? And you can start to dig deeper into that particular feeling, what's causing that feeling. One thing I want to talk about is culturally servant leadership, and we mentioned that men need to feel respected and women need to feel loved, right? So how
It's
can we?
not necessary across the board, but some cultures might show up more in some cultures,
Yep.
especially cultures that have been very suppressed, or the freedom to express hasn't been there. That can be a trend.
Yep, yep. Can you talk more to us about those and maybe the different cultures and more of what you see in our day-to-day lives today in the 21st century? That dynamic between men and women, leadership, servant leadership, and love and respect.
It does depend culturally. I can see certain cultures can have a lot of men needing, having a higher need for respect, and it can be tied back to how they were raised, and the homes often very dominant and very forceful parenting styles that can cause that to happen for men. Often being the male, a lot of pressure put on them that's not how a man should be. So putting these confused messages as in early childhood, that as much as they are being told what to do, they're also being told that they are meant to be the leaders. So sending conflicting messages in childhood can show up in a confused adult feeling like he needs the respect and not understanding why he needs it so much. And a lot of that can be tied to patterns from childhood, society, culture. What was your other question, Mina?
And ultimately, talking about servant leadership, I guess for either sides of the relationship, how could they really express that? How could they practice that? Now, servant leadership is a concept that John C. Maxwell talks a lot about. And it's ultimately understanding that even as a leader, there are periods of time where you hand the baton over to somebody else for them to lead. It's sacrificial leadership. It's not dominant leadership in terms of, oh, no, it's me, what I want, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So how do we bring those concepts into the relationship, but also do women want to feel feminine in a relationship and do men want to feel masculine? Is it healthy for them to feel that, or is it an understanding that both men and women can both feel masculine and feminine, right? We look at, say, a CEO. chief executive officer, okay? And they actually leverage both potentially masculine and feminine traits in leading an organization. So can you talk to us about those concepts?
So there's two things they you brought in. I'll talk about the servant leadership. So that comes from a space of service, and it comes from a sense of being on the same team, and it's almost like a mindset. Service leadership is more like having a mindset that even though I am the leader, I need to lead by example. I can't be asking my staff to be respectful of me and not being respectful of them. So having a sense of acceptance as well, acceptance of them as they are. And that can only come from accepting oneself, themselves. So if the leader has got areas where he hasn't completely accepted himself and parts of his own self, and a lot of that again comes from the emotional stuff that's undealt from his own childhood, all of that can play out in a leadership role, and as much as it plays out in relationship. So that servant leadership will have to bring that into account in being of service, seeing each other as being on the same team, and bringing humility and accepting that they are wrong at times, and accepting their strengths and their weaknesses. All of those components are very important in servant leadership. Yeah.
Beautiful. And the other one was masculine
and feminine.
Within an intimate relationship, and how that translates to professional relationships also.
Well, I look at it from a relationship, intimate relationship, just to start with. And again, it's come from how we are evolving as a human race and the role that women have played. And there's a sense of almost like confusion that women want to be heard, women want to be seen, that they are doing as much, and so they need equal pay, and all of that is great. I don't have anything against that. However, what I would also like to bring into focus, that a woman is a woman. She's created as a nurturer. Physiologically, she has her own characteristics. She gives birth to kids. She has women's cycles. She has all of these factors that play that play a part in her relationship. And while she does want to be treated and respected equally, and by all means she needs to, however, it's okay for her to be a receiver. A lot of women can, and myself included, I was one of those women who just did looked after everyone's needs, and without realizing I had stepped into a very masculine role. And other masculine people men would find me very demanding, very strong, and very pushy, because it was a role that I felt I had to play. Because in my earlier relationship, I've been remarried since, 22 years of being with a person that I didn't, or where I felt in the relationship that if I didn't take charge, things wouldn't get done. My kids' needs wouldn't be met. And playing that role, stepping into a masculine, into my so much more of my masculinity, because there was a non-acceptance that allowing for the man to play that role and almost what they call emasculate. We can tend to emasculate men when we feel like we're carrying this mantle to meet the needs of everyone around us. And it's not healthy for the woman, and it's not healthy for the man, and not healthy for the family. So being aware and being okay with being a receiver. So for women out there who feel like they need to be the provider and put them and be in this doing energy and less of the being present, giving us asking them to be curious. Is it okay for them to receive? How okay is it for them to receive, and can they allow themselves to receive? Because often being in that masculine energy, we have subconsciously told herself, I know I did, that I'm the provider, I give, and people would say, offer help, and I would say, no, I've got this, I can do it. Whereas being okay to receive, allowing for support to come in.
What about the masculine side? I think one thing
The
we touched
masculine,
upon is vulnerability.
yeah, beautiful. When a man can step into being vulnerable, it's a very powerful stand, and he allows him to meet his woman where she is, because women can find it a lot more easier. I'm not meaning to generalize, but just for the way that we are our makeup, we are a lot more expressive. We are nurturers, so we can tap into vulnerability a lot more easily than what an expectation of a man is. Culturally as well, men who are vulnerable, it might be confused as a sign of weakness, and they can wear that as an armor. Whereas as humans, if we can drop that armor and allow our emotions to be felt firstly by ourselves, and from that space share, it's the most powerful way to be in a relationship. Yeah.
So from a perspective of a woman, what does it mean for a man to be masculine and to show masculine energy? What would that mean?
It's a beautiful space for a man to be in, because he's stepping in as a provider, allowing her to receive, and recognizing that he's on her team, wanting her needs to be met, being willing to provide for her, and almost giving her permission to just receive from him.
Okay. So in terms of receiving, there could be receiving in terms of, say, financial. We're in the 21st century. Both of them can provide financially for the family.
Yeah.
But I also want to step into the other aspects also. So putting aside finances, how can a masculine man allow the lady to feel feminine? What does he need to do? What are we talking about here?
We can go back to love languages to understand, become curious about what her love languages are. What lights her up? Is it his time? Is it hugs? Is it words of affirmation? Understanding that because he has set love languages, just because, say, he loves receiving gifts, so he gives gifts, and that's what her love language might be. It's not necessarily the case. We are often wired into thinking that, oh, I love to spend time with you, so why is it not enough for you to spend time with me? We often feel that the way we are wired, that our partner should be wired that way as well. So allowing for that curiosity to know, okay, this is, and communicating your love language to them, how different it might be to them. While quality time is important for you, I will make that time to give that to you. However, my love language is physical touch, for example. And this is how I find you express that beautifully. So coming from a positive aspect, not, oh, you don't do this for me, but these are things that you do for me, and this is how we can do it, how I would love for it to be, or I think we can do it better.
the phrasing is very important, isn't it? Instead of
Yeah,
coming
and
from a negative, this is
yeah,
what I need to light me up, or this is if I receive this, or if I can have this from you, I could show up for you in a better way,
in a better way.
right?
So being aware. So self-awareness is key here. And acceptance, accepting that, yes, my love language is physical touch. It is, it's fine. It is okay that it is. So a lot of men, it is physical touch and they have taboos or whatever about expressing that, or they feel like they are, or their women can feel like they're being too demanding. But it is your love language. So let's be accepting of our love language and be accepting of our partner's love language too, and be on the same page to meet each other's
Yeah. I
language
think
too.
sometimes if you say to someone, my love language is physical touch, you might be worried to say that because it feels like, oh, okay, that's, it's overly potentially sexualized, right? But that doesn't mean it needs to be that way. I mean, the book, which we're going to listen in our list of books, the 5 love languages, they actually wrote another book about that, which they called the 5 languages of appreciation, more in a business commercial setting. And they replaced, obviously, intimate relationships between partners to things like fist pumps, taps on the shoulders, those types of
Yeah.
things for work settings. So it's very, very important to understand someone's love language. If someone's love language is not praise, right, words of affirmation, and they've just done a fantastic job, they've just finished an amazing project, and you as the manager puts them in front of everyone, in front of all the employees, instead of all the team members, and you say, they've done a fantastic job, you've just effectively actually disincentivized them from continuing to do a good job, right? Because their love language might have been quality time, and all they want is for you maybe to take them out for dinner or something, right? Or for lunch or something, and to just share some time together.
Yeah. And there's plenty of apps out there that you can, plug in set of questions to understand love languages. There's them within couples as well.
Yep.
So it's good to use the tools that are available.
Okay. Finally, to wrap up,
Yeah.
what are some book recommendations?
Well, I have written a book myself, Mina, so I would first up recommend my
Yes.
own book, Abundant Motherhood, Empowering Moms to Empower Their Kids, where we share a lot of tips on how that can be done, different activities, strategies, and in this book, even a kid's perspective. So there's a photos of my daughters there, and they have shared. They are co-authors with me in that book, where they share a child's perspective on what it meant for them when their mum was all over the place, and the whole self-love and the whole all those patterns and the past wounding was still active, and how that affected them as kids. And having done the work and learning and becoming raising my own self-awareness, the impact it had on them. So that's one book. The other book is Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now, very powerful book. There I highly recommend. And then the book that you mentioned there, The 5 Love Languages, is another one as well.
I think that was by Gary Chapman.
That's correct.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. How do we reach out to you?
So you can reach out to me on my Instagram, Empowered Parenting Coach, or you can reach out to me through Facebook, Yolanda Alvares. I've also got a group called Empowered Relationships, a group there, and yeah.
Great. So we will include those details in the video.
Wonderful.
And
Thank
in the
you.
comments section too, in the description section too. And you can reach out to me in terms of business stuff by finding me on LinkedIn, Mina Basilius. And I'm all over social media. Mina Basilius also on Instagram. Yeah, look forward to getting the comments and feedback from people in relation to this session. If you do have any comments, please do share them. Any questions, do share them. And we might do another session with Yolanda delving into these topics, maybe a lot more deeper, because they're very, very important to us, to our intimate partners, to our friends, our families, and our team, our professional team. And I always think of business and those relationships as vehicles to empower and shape us. I mean, you've got people working with you that after they finish, they go and they coach basketball, soccer, football, and those qualities they take from work, which effectively are an extension of you. You are sharing your qualities with your team members. Mm-hmm. They take those and they pass them on to other people too. So we're always sharing with each other. We're always mirroring each other every time, I guess, we touch base and we communicate with each other to a degree.
Absolutely.
So, Yolanda,
yes.
Thank you very, very much. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you on the other one. Thank you, everyone.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me, Mina.
See you next time. Thank you again.
Take care. Bye-bye.